10 insane celebrity homes. Number 10. Kim Ye. Best known by their one-name moniker, Kim Kardashian and Kanye West are one of the most famous celebrity couples on the planet. Is it any surprise that they live in a home that most of us could only dream of spending even one night in? Though the couple has been in the news for negative reasons as of late, Kim being robbed and Kanye for having some supposed mental breakdown, at least they have a palace in which to spend their idle time. The couple purchased this massive Hidden Hills abode for $20 million, but weren't entirely satisfied with it, so they renovated the place. Now the 5-acre property, or tiny town, reportedly includes a 2-story playroom in case a 1-story room fully devoted to children wasn't enough, a full-size movie theater, a gym, and a basketball court. No rap mogul's house is complete without a sound studio, and of course, Kim had to have a full spa on site, so those were built as well. They even bought their neighbor's property to make room for all of the additions they wanted. North and St. West are either the most fortunate or the most soulless children on the planet. Number 9. Donald Trump. Trump and his wife Melania may not be staying at their $100 million 66th floor penthouse in Trump Tower, New York, as much now as they will be taking up residence at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue for the next 4 years. While the White House is lovely, Trump has plenty of reasons to not want to move out of his Big Apple residence. The ridiculous apartment is 3 stories whose walls, floors, and columns are covered in marble. The platters, vases, and furniture are accented with gold. Greek statues and art dominate the interior, as well as flattening, grandiose portraits of Trump and his family. Residing so high up means that the penthouse is witness to an amazing view of the city, specifically Central Park and the Manhattan skyline. Hopefully, the president won't be thinking too much about his lavish digs while he's busy with his new job. Number 8. Sinatra's Paradise. In a nod to his character in the movie From Here to Eternity, Sinatra named this property in Palm Desert, California, Via Maggio. The property is 7.5 acres and features 3 buildings that have a combined total of 8 bedrooms, 3 kitchens, 9 fireplaces, and 12.5 bathrooms. The property also includes a lighted tennis court and a helipad. Sinatra commissioned the property in the 1960s as a place to get away from the hustle and bustle of being a celebrity. Sitting over 4,000 feet above the Coachella Valley, Old Blue Eyes picked a good spot to suit his needs. The entertainers passed away in 1998, and the second owners currently have the house for sale at a price of just under $4 million. Number 7. Lil Wayne. Weezy has been trying to sell his Miami Beach property for 2 years now without success. He lowered the price over the course of 2016 from $18 million to $12 million. Celebrities often find it difficult to sell their homes, especially if they have made modifications to suit their specific tastes. The rapper's house is 15,101 square feet, has 9 bedrooms and bathrooms, a professional recording studio, movie theater, and a rooftop skate park. The beautiful open interior home sits on the water in Miami Beach. In August of 2016, a prankster called the cops saying that someone had been shot and was bleeding at the home. Police arrived to find Lil Wayne asleep, and after finding nothing in the home, left without further incident. It was the second time such an incident has happened since Wayne purchased the house, and could be why he seems so desperate to sell the place. Number 6. Ashton and Mila. The couple made famous by co-starring in That 70s Show has enjoyed the fruits of their labor. With a daughter on the way, the couple purchased this $10 million home on April 1st, 2014 that is stupider than Kutcher's That 70s Show character. The house is on a private street in a gated community in Beverly Hills that is well away from paparazzi. The home is 7,300 square feet and has 3 huge bedrooms and 4 bathrooms. Admittedly, its dimensions are slightly dwarfed by the other insane pads on this list, but when's the last time you saw either of these people in a good movie? Number 5. Enya. When you look at the fact that Enya has sold more records than One Direction and calls Bono her neighbor, you would assume that the Irish singer has a pretty insane lifestyle. And you would be right, though not in the ways you might imagine. Despite being world famous, the singer has only been spotted in public a handful of times in the last decade, and apparently men find her dark and challenging. She lives in a small castle in Ireland as a recluse. Apparently, her only constant company is cats, a lot of cats that live on the property. When she moved in the late 90s, Enya had the entire house redone. Her bedroom opens to the Irish Sea, and she has incredible views of the Wicklow Mountains on one side and the Dalkey Islands on the other. Her music and successes are unique and will never happen again. Based off her living situation, she could also be called the world's wealthiest cat lady. Number 4. Howard Stern. $200,000 for hurricane shutters? $10 million on renovations alone? No problem for the most successful radio personality of all time. Stern reportedly spent $52 million to purchase this insane mansion in Palm Beach, Florida in early 2013 and had those refurbishments done in early 2016. The specialty shutters weren't cheap, and so, as you might guess, they are very heavy duty and able to withstand winds and debris impact of up to 276 miles per hour. They are also remote controlled and cover every one of the house's many windows. The home itself is even more remarkable. The mansion boasts 12.5 bathrooms, in case the first 12 are taken, 5 bedrooms, and sprawls over 19,000 feet across the Florida beachfront. Number 3. Dwayne Wade and Gabby Union. Dwayne Wade is a star guard for the Chicago Bulls. Gabrielle Union is a very well-known actress. The couple is, by all accounts, very happy together, and with salaries that could afford them cribs like this, who could blame them? The ecstatic couple got married on August 30th, 2014, and leased this ridiculous castle for the occasion. The house was priced at $10.9 million before it was delisted shortly before the wedding. The property was built by architect Charles Seeger for himself and includes a giant landlocked moat and formal gardens that surround the property. Number 2. Bill Gates. Though the richest man in the world is known as a charitable man who spends his money frugally, he opened his wallet a little bit to build his dream home. The home cost a record-setting $63 million to build and took 7 years to complete. The property lies in the hills of Medina, Washington, and is surrounded by nature. The estate has a variety of garages, including an underground cave that can hold 10 cars, 6 kitchens tended by a 24-hour on-call chef, a 1,500 square foot theater, a 2,100 square foot private library, and a massive aquarium. This home is incredible. But of course, it's not the only property the billionaire owns on the West Coast. He also bought a ranch in California for $18 million that has a private racetrack. Number 1. Mukesh Ambani. Ambani is no celebrity. He's the chairman of Reliance Industries, a gigantic conglomerate holding company in India. But he is a billionaire and had this crazy pad built in South Mumbai that is valued at around $1 billion, making it the most expensive private residential property on the planet. The 27-story property, called Antilia, and its unique design have been a part of the Mumbai skyline since being completed in 2010. The extravagant home's location in a destitute area of Mumbai is extremely controversial. The property has 6 floors of underground parking, 3 helipads, and a total interior space of over 400,000 square feet. The crib also features 9 high-speed elevators, a 2-story health center, and 6 floors for Ambani and his family. An entire floor is dedicated to servicing Ambani's stable of cars.
Hello and welcome to this week's Property News Update. My guest is Kieran Clair from Bricks and Mortar Media. Hello there, Kieran.
Hello, Kevin.
Good to be back with you again. Here are the stories that we are going to cover. These are the big stories, our big stories anyway, of the week. A property shock is on the way, maybe after the election. Australia's cheapest house. Wait till you see how much this one is. Guess who lost $2.4 billion in property deals in just a decade? You know who it is too. Wait to hear about it.
It wasn't me. It wasn't me.
No, it wasn't me either. And clean properties with dirty money and backyard kayaking. Got it right that time. Almost. Also, we're going to give you 2 classic photos of building stuff up and also why women live longer than men. Back with all that and lots more in just one moment.
Did you know you can save up to 70% on your staff costs by outsourcing the low-value, repeatable tasks so your team can focus on growing your business? Beepo is an outsourcing provider focused on the real estate industry. With an English-speaking, tertiary qualified and fully trained team in the Philippines, Beepo will give your business the boost it needs to start growing and returning value to you. For more information, visit beepo.com.au.
Hello and welcome back. Kieran Clair from Bricks and Mortar Media is my guest this week. And Kieran, let's go to story number 1. No real surprises to do with the election. This one comes from the Financial Review. A property shock could be on the way. Expect a rebound in Australia's property markets. That's the view from economists and the industry following Labor's failure to win election and implement changes to negative gearing and capital gains tax discounts. A lot of people breathing a sigh of relief over this one, Kieran.
There is. You should have seen the amount of texting and messaging going around in the industry among our clients once it was realised that the Labor government had failed in its supposed attempt to become the government in charge. I mean, when I say supposed attempt, what I mean is every poll had them running way ahead. Yeah. So much so, I was out to dinner that night with my family.
Yeah, well, declare an interest here. Of course, you represent PIPA, Property Investment Professionals of Australia, and quite vocal they were too, leading in the election to, making sure that everyone understood exactly what was involved in this. And, full marks to them. I've got Peter Kalutzos, I think it's in tomorrow's RET show, talking about that. So, I was convinced that Labor were going to win, so much so that we thought we might go to the movies. We didn't. But fortunately, we watched the ABC coverage, which I've got to say was probably one of the best election coverages I have ever seen. Michael Rowland and those graphics they used on the floor were just sensational. It was entertaining. And I never thought I'd say that about election coverage.
I can imagine. And they've got a walking election encyclopedia and Anthony Green at the ABC who calls things nice and early. He's always on the money and very smart, knows every seat and every member, that fella. But look, mate, as I said, we thought Labor was going to romp it in. And I'm also, declaring interest too. I'm on the board of the Property Investors Council of Australia, PICA, and we had our chairman out there as well, pushing what was going on. And some of the mistakes that were being made in the policy. But this has really fueled a sense of confidence. You've got Brian White from Ray White coming out and saying, it was a decisive election factor and turned things around. Goldman Sachs have revised where they felt the industry was going. And this is on top of this week, earlier this week, news came out about the Australian Prudential Regulation Authority now changing the rules about setting a floor limit on the tolerance, the interest rate tolerance they're applying.
They were applying it at 7%, which they're lowering now. Yeah,
that's right. Which a wealth of people in this industry are saying this is the one thing. Finance is the one thing that's stifled the ability to help the industry thrive. And the thriving property industry, is a boon for all Australians. There's so much reliant on this industry, and it's great to see that we're getting some good news finally, I think.
Indeed it is. So that's a great story to lead off with in this week's show. Let me tell you about RET, the show that's out tomorrow. Money advice for kids that will save you. Remember the guy who said will save you?
Yes, I remember. Is that him?
John Simon.
Talking to him?
Yeah, John's my guest tomorrow on the show. He gives us the advice that he's given his kids. So that's interesting listening. DIY video marketing, regulation to drive out spruikers. This is my chat with Peter Kalutzos, sloping blocks deliver in spades. Sorry about the pun there. And houses are most affordable since 2013. That was an interesting report during the week that came out from the HIA. So there you go. They've done their figures, and we'll cover that and lots more tomorrow in the show. Hey, let's go to movie. Let's go to story number 2. I'm still at the movies. This one's from the Daily Mail. And we had to go to the UK to find Australia's cheapest house because the Daily Mail's out of the UK. Country property sitting on 500 square metre block in Hay, New South Wales, is going for less than the price of an old used car. That's going to need some work, as you'll see from the photos here.
Yeah, that's right. $7,000. You and I could actually go halves. I've suggested a few times on the $1 billion properties that we go halves, Kevin. On this one, we actually could, I think. Murray Street property in Hay, New South Wales. 1920s property that sold in May and cheaper than most used cars, as you say. I thought the interesting thing about this one too is that in August the property sold for $48,000, and in June August 2004, and then in June 2012 it sold again for $30,000. So it's really been left to go to rack and ruin.
Yeah, well, I guess if you were maybe the person who we're going to feature a little bit later in our story who's really good at losing money on property deals, he could probably buy this and sell it in a few years' time for $1,000 and think it was a great deal.
So 1/7 of the price. Hey, it also piqued my interest as a property valuer, because the median price in Hay is $113,500. So, judging by the photos and the price, I'm suggesting you might need a touch more than a hammer and a paintbrush for this one.
Well, it wouldn't even be land value, I would think. I mean, land value's got to be worth more than that. So,
I would have thought so too.
I don't know what's going on with that one. Anyway, maybe they got the conversions wrong. I don't know. But that's the story. There you go. Hey, take you to story number 3. This one comes from the Queensland Times. And this is a Queensland publication with an American story. So there you go.
We're international.
We are indeed. Guess who lost $2.4 billion in property deals in a decade? He might have lost a staggering $2.4 billion over just one decade, but diehard supporters of US President Donald Trump are still convinced that he is the business leader. He's got great business prowess. I don't know about that.
No, I know. That's a whole lot of money. 2.4 million Australian, 1.17 billion US. And it says that, in the hotels and casinos in 1985 alone, he lost 46.1 million, and then 500 million in 1990 to 1991. Donald Trump's come out and expressed that, it's surprisingly fake news, that it isn't uncommon for developers to run at a loss during that time period for tax purposes. I don't know. I don't want to start too much of a controversial discussion here, but are you a fan, Kevin, or what do you think of this?
No, I'm not, mate. I think it's I mean, obviously that's why no one can see his records, his tax records.
Of course it is. And also, I mean, I follow a lot of the US election on Twitter and on social just because it's so entertaining. Not being in the US and watching how that's played out, and to see 85% of the Republicans polled still thinking that he's a successful businessman with these sorts of numbers floating around doesn't surprise me, because quite honestly, there's a core member of the voting public in the Republican Party that can see him doing absolutely no wrong. I know.
Interesting story. And inside the story too, click on the link below. It'll tell you some of the mistakes he's made over the years. Makes for an interesting reading. Hey, I want to take you, before we go to an ad break, our Why Women Live Longer Than Men photo. Have a look at this. This is real teamwork, isn't it? This guy bending over with the guy on his back. What a champion.
I agree. Balanced on a ladder. That's what you want from your mate.
Yeah. At least he's holding on, isn't he? He's sort of holding on. But what about the guy in the yellow shirt? If he had a tumble, there'd be big trouble.
That's right. And the guy who's safely straddling the bearers up there is just saying to him, go one hand, mate.
Yeah, dare you. Go on. Yeah.
I've said this before about some of these photos that come up. I just think this is a sign of blokes, particularly, Aussie blokes, just getting on with the job. Let's not let a little thing like inadequate equipment stop us from getting things done.
Yeah, who needs a plank?
Let's find a solution.
Who needs a plank when you got a mate?
That's right. Watch out for the utility belt, but you'll be right.
Yeah, well,
I think he's losing his DAX in this one too, Kevin. If you look, I hope not.
Oh, it could be too. Yeah, gee, that would have made a good shot. Anyway, back in just a moment. We're going to give you our building stuff up later in the show, so stick around for that. It's an absolute classic. And after the break, dirty properties with clean money. Back in just a moment.
Tall people. Constantly making the world a better place.
There you go.
And how does the world reward you? Stretch out with up to 40% more legroom in Economy X on Virgin Australia.
Welcome back to the show. My guest is my co-host. In fact, he's not my guest. My co-host is Kieran Clair from Bricks and Mortar Media. Hey, Kieran, let's go to story number 4. This one comes from The Guardian. Dirty properties with clean money. It's estimated that more than £90 billion do the conversion is laundered illegally through UK property deals each year. That's staggering.
Yeah, that'd be over 200 million Australian, I'd imagine, there. But
billion.
Billion, I should say. Yes.
Yeah.
Australian right there. And this story's come about on the back of the idea that the UK is going to start its first foreign ownership register of property. And they, if you click on the story, they talk about a recent dramatisation of the idea of Russian money getting in and being laundered through the UK economy. You can see, isn't it interesting too, the idea of self-interest in this, because while they're going to obviously go for going to try and rein in this laundering of money, they're also well aware that this might have a detrimental effect on the property market in the UK, because it is helping to support prices in there. Politically, there's a bit of an appetite for it, although once again, Brexit might be putting a halt on the idea of doing the register. And I also
Why would they do that, Kieran? Why would they put a hold on it?
They fear the delay, the paralysis induced by Brexit might stop. Just the whole political machinations of what's going on with Brexit at the moment mightn't allow for a clean debate and flow of legislation for the.
I can't get my head around that Brexit debate.
Nope. Don't
Brexit debacle.
Better to go off and do a Rubik's Cube than try and understand Brexit.
I just can't understand it. Yeah.
Interesting too. There's already a talk about a loophole because the bill to establish the register doesn't cover trusts. how hard is it to set up a trust and buy property in that? So they're going to have to address that as well.
Incredible. Yep.
I know.
Indeed. Well, thanks for your wonderful insight on that one, my friend. Hey, let's go to the last story. This is story number 5. This one comes from Zillow in the States about backyard kayaking. I love this story because I love this house. I've always had a dream of sort of lying in bed and being able to look out. So it'd be a bit like being on a cruise, wouldn't it? You know, where you can lie in bed and look at the ocean. But have a look at some of these photographs, and there's tons of them with this one. It's called a liverboard.
Yeah.
That's what they call it.
It's a liverboard.
It's called a liverboard.
That's what it's.
And it's attached to a very sandy beach. So, you know, you could get the beach out one side of the house and you could go fishing out the other side of the house. That sounds like the perfect life for me.
Yeah, well, it's somewhat ironically, it's situated on the banks of Poverty Bay in Washington.
Oh, is it? I didn't pick up on that.
I did a little Google mapping while I was there, and I must admit, when I saw it, one of my questions was, thinking of retirement, Kevin? Because this looks like the perfect property.
Wouldn't it be sensational? And it looks to me to be fairly well decked out as well. Like they've spared no expense on it.
No, absolutely. It's beautiful. It's only 2 bed, 1.5 bath. But, you know, if you're the sort of person who's going to live there and relax, I imagine you don't need much more room than that. And look at the wide open outdoors. It's not like you're going to be feeling cloistered in with 2 bed. Question for you, Kevin. I don't know. $524,950 is the listing price. Is that unusual do you think, for US properties, that they put odd amounts?
Oh, okay. I hadn't. Give me that amount again.
$524,950. I mean, it's, you know, $50 shy of $520.
Yeah, it's probably just the pricing strategy. You know, like you know, $299 or you know.
Oh yeah,
it could be. That's all I can put it down to. So it's under that, just under that $1,000 threshold. So.
It might be a cutoff for when people are doing searches too of the dollar amounts.
It could be interesting talking about that too. And this is a total aside, but something I learned, because as you know, we're selling our house tomorrow at auction, and something I learned, I guess I did know it, but it sort of was reinforced when we were doing the marketing. The agent explained to me the back end. In this case, it was realestate.com.au, and how the back end you can manipulate the search criteria. So even though on an auction there is no price, but you can elect where in the search it'll come up according to what price the potential buyer puts in. So to give you an example, if you want 700,000, you could technically put your house in at a range of 650 to 700.
Really?
Yeah, right. And when people will search 600,000 to 700,000, it'll come up in that search criteria. So there's a bit of a hint for you if you're looking around at an auction property. When it comes up, just check your search criteria, because that'll give you an idea of the indication as to where they're pitching it.
Right. You haven't given too much away to the people who are coming to bid on yours, have you?
No. Well, they'd have to be searching around $1 million.
Of course. Is that all? Is that all for your property?
I wish. I wish.
Giving it away, are we, Kevin? You're giving it away.
Yeah, that's right, mate. No, we're not going to give it away. We're very confident, you know. And if you're around tomorrow, make sure if you're in Brisbane, 31 Allen Street, Kedron, and it starts at 9:30. So there you go. There's a shameless plug.
You come early, there won't be much parking. Come early.
No, there's no barbecue, no sausage sizzle, no free drinks.
I went to one that had an ice cream stand. When I was reporting for the Courier Mail, they set up an ice cream stand out the front. It was brilliant.
I went to an auction. I think I might have mentioned to you, I went to an auction up in the Tamborine Mountains. Tamborine Mountains? Yeah. A couple of weeks ago, and the agents there had a sausage sizzle. It was very successful too.
It's a great idea. Yeah. Anyway, I'm not suggesting you organise that.
No, I'm not going to. I'm not going to turn my barbecue over to that.
No, fair enough.
I don't want people who want sausages. I want people who want to bid. That's what I want.
They could raise a sausage.
Yeah, a paddle sausage. Enough of this. Hey, we got the building stuff up too.
Yeah, I know.
Let's go to that. I nearly forgot. Have a look at this, will you? Who would do this? Obviously, that train track hasn't been used for some time.
Well, if it has, God help them. Look, you know what immediately I thought of? You know, at the Royal Show they have here in Brisbane, and they have in probably county fairs all over the US, the stunt drivers that come out and they can they hit the ramp and they.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just wondering if you get one of those guys.
A trick train driver.
Yeah, a trick train driver might be able to deal with that. Yeah. Of course, if you can just get the train to cock a leg as it goes past, then it'll be right.
You know what I've just realised? I think we used this one last week. I'm not sure.
I don't recall that.
So that would be a program stuff up, wouldn't it?
No. Last week you had the taps. You had multiple knobs in the shower.
We did too. We did too, yeah.
Many knobs.
Yeah, maybe I've just been talking to someone about this one, because I just remember that comment I made about it appears that those railway tracks haven't been used for some time. And there's a good reason for that, is because the train can't go on those tracks.
I know. Hopefully that's the last station. Yeah, anyway, it certainly is. If it wasn't, it certainly is
exactly.
now.
You come to a quick stop. Hey, mate, all the best, my friend. Have a great weekend. Don't forget, tune into Real Estate Talk. It is out tomorrow. We've got auction update a little bit later this afternoon. Some good news, too, about auctions over the weekend. We're out to get a 100% success rate in Brisbane tomorrow.
Cool. Absolutely.
There's a reason for that.
Yeah, I can see
the reason for that. 31 Allen Street, Kedron, starts at 9:30. Hey, mate, all the best.
Thanks, mate. Make sure they bid hard, bid high, and bid off.
I'll let you know what the result is next week. Thanks, buddy. Good talking to you. And make
Bye.
sure you join us next week for Property News Update and all of these stories with the assistance of Bricks and Mortar Media. Thanks very much for your company, and look forward to talking to you in Auction Update later today, and then Real Estate Talk tomorrow morning. See you next week.
With demand for luxury residential apartments in Manhattan increasing, and a severe lack of land available for development, we've seen the rise of super slender skyscrapers across the city's skyline. While this trend originated and first became identifiable in New York through structures like 432 Park Avenue and 53 West 53rd Street, the phenomenon is no longer limited to the city and is beginning to have global repercussions. Around the world, developers are now striving to maximize floor areas and value from small sites by employing the super slender high-rise technique. But while such an approach does improve return on investment, the limited site access and additional engineering associated with building these towers makes them much more expensive to develop. Now in Australia, contractor Hickory Group have pioneered a construction method that uses prefabricated modules to improve quality, streamline the building process, and reduce overall construction costs. While the projects using this method have so far been modest in comparison to the super tall giants of New York City, Hickory are about to take their prefabricated building method to new heights in the form of Australia's most slender skyscraper, the 60-storey Collins House in Melbourne. Collins House is located in the heart of Melbourne on the city's prestigious Collins Street. Famed for its historic streetscape and home to some of the country's tallest buildings, Collins Street and Melbourne as a whole is in the midst of a high-rise building boom, the likes of which Australia has never seen. With soaring demand for high-rise living and commercial vacancies at an all-time low, at least 20 skyscrapers are currently under construction, including the city's tallest building, the 317-metre Australia 108. The demand has driven land values to record highs, with a modest site just a block from Collins House recently selling for over 140 million Australian dollars. Now, developers are pushing engineering to the extreme in order to make the most of the small parcels of land they are able to acquire. The Collins House site is a mere 12.5 metres wide. Fronting the bustling Collins Street, and with occupied commercial buildings on either side, developers' golden age had no choice but to build upward in order to maximise floor area. As part of the development, air rights were purchased from an adjoining building along the eastern boundary, allowing architects Bates Smart to design a 4.5 metre cantilever over the neighbouring property and increase the size of each floor by some 35% from the 14th storey upwards. With only one access point to the site, manoeuvring plant, materials and other equipment during construction was always going to be a struggle. While the first 14 stories of the tower are constructed from concrete, Hickory's prefabricated structural units form the remainder of the skyscraper's height. The use of prefabricated techniques has had a remarkable impact on the quality, speed, and level of safety on the Collins House scheme. With the majority of components assembled off-site and craned into place within an hour of delivery, the project's programme has been reduced by 30%. These prefabricated modules also reduce the extent of external safety screens and barriers required, as the building is enclosed once the module is in place. Being assembled off-site under controlled factory conditions allowed the modules to be inspected and any defects rectified prior to delivery, drastically improving the quality of the finished product and further reducing downtime on site. Offering 271 luxury apartments across its 60 floors, as well as a host of residential amenities, Hickory's modular system provided a more flexible floor plate that can be adapted across the levels, depending on the intended use of each space. Currently rising toward its 190-metre total height, Collins House will become one of the tallest prefabricated buildings in the world when it completes in 2019. While Collins House is some way off the 426-metre height of New York's 432 Park Avenue, the slenderness ratio of the two structures is almost the same, at 1:16 and 1:15 respectively, making Collins House a powerful case study for the prefabrication of other super slender towers around the world. With developers and contractors constantly searching for new ways to reduce building costs, keep standards high, and speed up construction, the success of pioneering methods like this, and on a building like Collins House, could set new benchmarks for the industry in the years ahead.